Hi everyone, Stepan here. I have a game. I'm gonna go d4. The goal is to play better than last time. Okay, this guy is 2364. I'm gonna play the London because I haven't played the London in a while and I want to see what happens. We're probably gonna transpose to the Caro-Kann if he takes. I think taking is the principled move. Okay, against knight c6, it's not going to be the Caro-Kann. It's going to be the exchange Slav if he takes. Or the symmetrical exchange Slav structure. Okay, let's go knight d2. Now this is the most annoying way for black to play. Black is equal or more than equal, so there isn't much I can do about this. This is the downside of the London. Well, he would have been equal with bishop to g4, to f5 instead of g4. Now against this, if I go f3, he goes bishop d7. That's the best move. And if I go bishop e2, he got his bishop outside of the pawn chain. If I go knight f3, he goes e6. So I don't really like positions with f3. But I may just play one now. If I go knight f3, he has knight h5. Okay, let's go bishop e2. I've been looking at this line briefly recently, and I think it's an interesting way to play. You take back with the queen, and you play for e4. You keep preventing knight h5. That's the idea. Now, if h3, then bishop d6, which is fine. If knight f3, then knight h5. But then bishop g5 seems okay, so I'm going to go knight f3. His goal is to go e5. Nevertheless, my goal is to go e4. Now against any queen b6, I have rook b1, since the bishop is not on the diagonal. And against any bishop d6, I could consider knight e5. Against knight h5, bishop g5, f6, bishop h4, g5, I have knight e5 or knight g1, attacking the knight. Against knight e4, I take and go knight d2. That's fine. Okay, against bishop d6, I was thinking knight e5, but that may not be precise. If knight e5, d5, knight d7, I have to play knight f3 to defend my pawn. And if I take, I don't have knight e5. Sorry, if knight e5, he plays bishop e5, not knight e5. So knight e5, bishop e5, d5, knight d7, knight f3. What's that position like? Knight e5, bishop e5, d5, knight d7, knight f3. It seems okay. I think that's the most active way to play. Bishop g3 is bad, bishop d6 is just equal, so I want to keep preventing knight e5, so I'm going to go knight e5. If knight d7, I have knight f7. On king f7, bishop d6. On bishop f4, knight d8. Okay, he does not take. So now I could consider g4, I could consider f3, or I could consider knight f3. I could also consider knight c6 and try to play for a slightly better pawn structure. So, since castle's queenside seems extremely risky, because he just takes on d4 and opens up the c file, I think a kingside attack seems unreasonable, to say the least. Now if I go knight c6, bc6, bishop d6, queen d6, castles, that seems about equal. So I'm gonna do that. I mean, I don't want to deal with asymmetrical pawn structure, and at least this way I have something to target. And if bishop d6, queen d6, castles e5, I can take, he takes with the queen, I go knight f3. Okay, that seems okay. It seems pretty reasonable. On knight g4 I have knight f3, and okay, if he does nothing I go e4, but he's gonna go e5 now. I mean, he should go e5. He could preface that with cd, but if he goes cd I go cd, and on e5 I take, queen takes, knight f3, and rook c1 puts pressure on the backward c6 pawn, or not the backward c6 pawn, but the weak c6 pawn. Okay, rook b1 seems okay. I see no reason to weaken myself any further, although I could consider knight f3, but then he goes knight e4. Knight f3, knight e4 is annoying, so rook b1. If there's no light squared bishop on the diagonal, this is a safe move to play. If he goes c4, I go e4, so c4 isn't a good move. If he goes cd, I probably go ed, now that I think about it, to prevent e5, and then if rook e8, rook fe1. What else? I mean, he's gonna go e5 at some point. I think he has to. Okay, now I was thinking ed to keep preventing e5. And if he goes c5, if he goes c5, what do I do? This is a crucial decision. If I had enough time to play knight b3, this game would be perfect. But I don't. So I think I take with the e-pawn. And he plays c5. And I go... I was thinking takes and... Well, maybe knight f3 is sensible, and then if he takes, I take with the c-pawn, he gets the e4 square. Or maybe I can just take. I don't know. And I'm wasting too much time. If I go knight f3, I have to take with the pawn. If I go knight b3, I have to take with the pawn. Unless knight f5 is really strong, but I don't think so. So I prefer taking. Okay, now rook e1 seems like a normal move. I eventually want to go queen e3 or queen e5. So yeah, rook e1 seems good. On queen a5, I can go a3. And my knight is guarding against rook b3. Okay. I'm gonna go a3 if he goes a4. So he wants to go a4, and on a3 he has an outpost for the rook. If I go queen e3 now, he retreats the queen, then I don't have knight b3. Should probably consider c4 even here to try and get a passed pawn. So c4, d4 gives me a passed pawn, and c4, d4, knight b3 seems good. I'm gonna go c4. That seems aggressive, but I want to weaken his center. He doesn't have queen b5, and I need to fight against his expansion. I'm expecting d4, but then knight b3 could be annoying because I'm on 2 pawns, and he would have to play queen b6 to defend, but then I have c5 dislodging the queen, and his only way to defend both pawns would be queen d8. But then I have rook e d1, and one of the pawns is going to fall. So I don't think he can go d4. So d4, knight b3, queen b6, c5, queen d8, rook e d1. And that's it. I think I win the d4 pawn. And if he takes, what do I take with? I think I take with the knight because I want to go knight e5. The main thing is to control e4. This is why I played c4. And if I do manage to isolate his pawn, like if I take on d5, I don't think he should take with the knight. He should probably take with the pawn. But then I have knight b3 or knight f3 followed by knight d4. Also, I have rook c1 putting pressure on the queen. So again, d4, knight b3, queen b6, c5, queen d8, rook e d1 seems okay. Because if he plays a4, I can play knight takes d4. Or rook takes d4, but knight takes d4 seems better because I don't want to lose my rook. And in any case, okay, I'm happy to see this. Now I was thinking rook ec1. Can I do that now? Rook ec1 d4. Knight b3, queen b6, c5, queen d8. Rook cd1, or I could take. No, rook ed1, rook ec1 seems more promising, but then I cannot take because my rook isn't defended. Okay, I'm gonna take. I wanna see what he takes with. He took with the queen. Okay, this I didn't expect at all. He wants to play rook c2, and he wants to play queen a2. So if I go a3, he goes rook c2, and I'm blundering. If I go rook d1, he goes rook c2. If I go knight b3, he goes a4, I play rook ed1. Where does he move the queen? That's the question. I'm gonna do that because I need to defend against both threats, and I don't see any other way to do it. And on a4, I can go rook ed1. Or rook cd1, I haven't decided yet. He's gonna have to defend the pawn, but I will have knight d4, and his queen will not be able to stay on my a2 pawn. So let's say a4, rook ed1, queen somewhere, knight d4. Seems okay. This is probably equal, but he has the isolated pawn. So rook ed1, can he take on b3? ab3 takes, no, he cannot. I needed to give my knight the d4 square and defend my a2 pawn. And this does both things. Now I can go knight d4 next. I don't think he's taking on b3. I don't think that works. ab3, rook d5, ba2. At least I can go rook d1. Then it's a pawn, knight, and rook for the queen. Or yeah, I don't have to go rook d1, I can go rook a1. Ah, but wait, then the c1 square is hanging. So ab3, rook d5, ba2, yeah, I'm gonna have to go rook d1. ab3 rook d5 ba2 rook dd1 ab1 queen rook b1. So I'm technically up no material. Is he up material? So I have a rook and queen versus two rooks, knight and a pawn. No, versus two rooks and knight. I don't know. That should be a pawn up for me. But it's definitely not a simple position to play. ab3 rook d5 ba2 rook dd1 ab1 rook b1. Let's say he plays rook b3. I think I'm better in that endgame. But I'm not sure. So ab3, rook d5, ba2. Do I have any better move than rook dd1? I don't think so. Because I cannot go rook a1. Okay. He did not do it, so let's stop thinking about it. Now, I was thinking knight d4. Because I don't see any other square. The main thing is not to allow rook c2. If rook c2 happens, I'm much worse. Okay. Now I could consider h3 to prevent knight g4 and to give my king some luft, but do I have anything more useful like knight f3 and knight e5 threatening to take on f7? He's gonna go knight d5 at some point. Definitely. So yeah, let's just give my king some luft. I don't think this is bad. He could go knight h5 if I move my queen, threatening knight f4. But still he probably plays knight d5, followed by knight b4, where I go a3, and he has the b3 square for the rook. But luckily he cannot go e5 easily, while my queen defends. I would like my knight on e5. He's still on the a2 pawn. That's okay. So this is the same position as before if I go knight b3. I mean, I could go knight b3 with a repetition. What changed? Knight b3, he probably goes queen a8 again. What else can I do? I could go a3, but then he goes e5 and rook b3. Oh no, sorry, on e5 I have knight f5. He could go I don't know. I would like my knight on b4, so playing a3 may not be that bad. I don't want to draw, so I'm not gonna go knight b3, even though it's probably the best move. If I go a3, he could go knight h5. But then I could go knight f3 with knight e5. Okay, I'm gonna decline the draw, because knight b3 would have probably led to the same position. I want my knight on e5, and I want to have ideas of rook d7 and knight f7. At which point he's probably going to go knight d5, which is a bit harder now because he has to move the queen, blocking the d file, but giving me ideas like rook d1. Okay. I like just doubling my rooks, but he has knight e4. If I go knight f3, he goes queen b3. Then I go rook d3. Okay, I like that. I'm gonna do that. He wants to double up on my b pawn. That's a good idea. But I can probably have enough time to counterattack the a4 pawn. Okay, so now if I go rook d4, how does he defend? I'm gonna go rook d4 because I'm running short on time. I don't see a problem with this unless rook b2 works followed by rook c1, but I don't see that working. I don't know. We will probably go into an endgame where I have a passed a pawn, and it's not clear whether it's good or bad. Okay. Why can't I take on a4? Because he has knight c3. How do I prevent knight c3? How do I prevent knight c3? I could go rook c4. I think that's the only move. So rook c4 preventing knight c3. If he plays knight c3, I take on c8. He plays queen c8. I go queen c2. Yeah, that works. I think I have to go rook c4. Otherwise, knight c3 is just deadly. And now with knight c3, I go rook c8. Queen c8 and queen c2, pinning the knight to the queen and winning. And if he trades everything, rook c4, queen c4, rook b2, queen b2, then queen a4, and it should be equal. Okay. Still threatening knight c3, so I need to avoid playing queen takes a4. Also queen e2 is bad, but I could go queen f1. That defends my rook. I could also consider queen d4. Queen d4, knight c3, rook c1, has knight e2. Okay, queen f1 it is. Against knight c3 I can now take, and my idea is to go knight d4 if he plays rook c2. Oh no, he didn't. He can just take. Ah no, against rook c2 I can go queen d1. Okay, it's okay. Okay, queen d1. Am I safe? I am safe. If queen b6, I have knight d4. If queen b3, I have knight d4. I don't know. If he takes, I would bet the endgame is equal. If he moves the rook, I still cannot take on a4, of course, because of knight c3. But I could go knight d4. Okay. I cannot go b4 because of knight c3. But I could finally consider playing rook c1 to get rid of this pin. So rook c1, queen c1, knight f4, something like queen c2, or even taking on a4 seems okay. But on rook c1 he could go rook b8. And then I go rook c2. Then he has queen b3. Wow. Okay, I think I should just go knight e5, and then if he goes rook b8, I can play queen c2. Okay, I'm going knight e5. I want active pieces, and ideally I would like to go knight d3. On rook b8, queen c2 seems okay. What does this do? He wants to go... I don't know what he wants to do. He was just defending the pawn, I guess. Okay, let's go queen e2. I don't think he has knight f4 because I have queen e4. He doesn't have knight c3 now because the queen isn't on the b file. I want to go rook e1 and knight f7 and take, although it doesn't work because he takes with the queen. But I may be able to set up a threat. So now he's threatening knight c3. So let's defend against that. How do I defend against knight c3? I have to move my rook. Okay, I'm gonna go rook d1. I'm not hanging the pawn. I just needed to get out of the pin. Now on rook b8, I don't know what this does, but okay. Let's go. I don't know what to do. Let's go rook d2. I want to be able to free up my queen. If he goes rook c1, king h2 seems okay. On queen c7, I could go g3, but then he goes queen b7, so maybe I don't go g3. Okay, maybe I have to go g3. Wow. On queen b7, I can go queen f3. I need to prevent queen h1 mate and rook h1 mate. If he attacks my knight, I plan to go queen e4. And then if he goes rook c1, I can consider rook c2. Although I could also consider knight e3, because if he takes it, I go queen e3 and I'm threatening. I don't know. I've prevented queen f1. Okay, my rook is in front of the pawn, so this is a draw. But I'm still gonna try to win. The king has to stay on these two squares. If he ever plays f6 or f5, he's probably losing. I'm gonna go h4. Okay. Tying down the rook finally, and now I want to go with my king towards the king side, towards the queen side. This is technically a draw, but he can mess up. I had no way to transfer my rook to the other side of the pawn. If the rooks were reversed, it's easily winning. If my rook defended laterally from c7, it's easily winning. This, I think I could win. Maybe this isn't a draw. If I get my king to g5, it's winning. We will see. If he goes king f6, I have rook h8. And a passed h-pawn may be enough to win. Okay, rook h8, rook a7, rook h5. That could be enough to win. If I don't do that, he goes back. King g7. Okay, I'm gonna try and outplay him slowly. I have a protected passed pawn. That's a big deal. Okay. That's a good move. If he moves the king to the e file, I'm playing h5. If he does nothing, I'm moving my king up. At least that's the idea. Okay, I'm gonna have to go back to the shelter. I need a new idea. I need my rook on f4. Unless I can go f3 now. Can I go f3? I'm gonna try f3. Because I need my king to come to h5 eventually. Yeah, I blundered. Okay, good game. F3 was, I think, my last hope. Although, maybe I had another chance. I don't know what, though. Let's analyze. Okay, so... Where's bishop g4? Yeah, bishop g4. Now... Knight f3 is the normal move, and bishop e2 is okay. I was looking at bishop e2, so I decided to play that. e6, knight gf3, yeah, bishop d6 has never been played. That's strange. That seems like the most active move to me. Knight e5, castles, and it's equal. Knight c6, equal, 0, 0. Wow. 0, dc5, best move. Okay, this is my first mistake. I should have gone rook fc1. Okay, c4 is okay. Taking is okay. Knight b3 is okay. Rook ed1 is okay. Knight d4 is okay. a3 is okay. Knight f3, it's all just zeros. Rook c4 only move. The problem I had throughout this game is that if I take, he has knight c3 and I lose. So I had to go rook c4. Rook takes, queen takes, rook c6. Wow, queen f1. I should have gone queen e4. Ah, queen e4, because on knight c3 I take and my rook's defended. All the same. Queen h4? How does queen h4 work? I don't get queen h4. Wait, I still don't get it. Ah, because I defend. Ah, okay, now I get it. Queen f1 was a mistake. Equal, equal. I don't remember playing a game that was this equal throughout ever. Queen c6, the first mistake, giving me a pawn. I should have gone rook d5. That makes more sense. Yeah, not trading queens makes more sense. Threatening rook d8 check, but he goes g6. I go rook d8 anyway. King h7. And then I trade on c6, but what's the difference? Let's see. Ah, because now I don't lose a pawn. I can go rook b8, rook b4, king g2. Okay. Yeah, and this is just a draw. I don't think... I mean, you can win if he makes a mistake. This is a well-known draw if the king stays on these two squares. Unless he plays something like f6, then I have chances, because if king f7, then rook h8 wins. Okay, yeah, draw. f3 isn't a good winning attempt. He can just keep checking, as you saw. But if he takes, I mean, okay, the table bases say it's a draw, but still, this isn't so easy. It isn't so easy. Now I have a simple threat. Wait, what? I was thinking I could do this. So let's say rook a2 check takes. Let's say here, and I want my king to go to h5. I have a passed pawn and his king is cut off. Okay, everything seems to be a draw, but I'm the one playing for a win. I can never lose. So okay. Yeah, it was an interesting game, I think. It wasn't easy. It was all equal, which is strange. Hope you liked it. Let me know what you think. Stay tuned for more chess. Bye bye.